Good day, shall I say it here? Yeah, it's been a week. It's time for another video, and wow, I've got some hot stuff. I'm going to cut a couple of videos, but I'll probably distribute it over a couple of days. Let's start with the beast. I got somewhat distracted from. Sorry, as usual, I'll do the shortened version for those that don't really care to hear more about it. The free tier, just download the workflows, that'll all be available. And I'll do the longer explainer workshop in the workshop for the workshop Patreon tier. Paid tier. If you want that, price of a cup of coffee, done. But the workflows will be available. I'll give it a brief explainer, I guess, so you kind of know what it does or how to use it. And first up, yeah, I've got image ones. I've done a funky new thing with Z image that works really well to create really quality images. And then this one, which I'm going to talk through quickly now, is a detailer. And I tested a lot of detailers over the last week. Humo, I went back to WAN, a couple of other attempts, and then I really focused on LTX because it really clearly, once I eventually found a way to upscale, and the result is 180p, which is pretty good. And on my 3060 I can do it in well, I've got two models because there's a few things that happened this week. You saw my video probably on Seed Dance. That's kind of rug pulled the world a little bit and put the fear of God into Hollywood and started AI wars on Twitter, which I've been come to some conclusions about that. And I'll talk about that. I'll talk about that now. I think I'm going to try and find a language to not clash with current everyday normal filmmakers and current everyday normal artists. Because I really feel for them. Those guys are getting so freaked out and so angry because of what they're facing, and they're so in denial, and it's just no point hurting people unnecessarily. I don't need to prove anything. So I'm going to start. I'll probably leave the name of the Patreon AI movie making just because it's that already, but I might start referring to it as something like AI storytelling rather than filmmaking or movie making, and AI image creation rather than art, because it's just destroying people, isn't it? And the next generation, I've been saying this all week, the next generation won't give a damn. They'll go, why did you used to use cameras and waste all your time spending 300 billion on a movie when you can just do it at home on a PC in 5 minutes with a prompt? That is how the next generation will think. They'll wonder why we bothered, let alone why we fought for it. But that's the next generation, isn't it? We're not there yet. But the point being, I also, here's another thing. What I'm making is shit. It's shit. I'm not pretending it isn't. I can't make a fucking movie to save my life. I'm awful. I'm not a director. I'm not a script writer. Well, I kind of am. But it's not Ridley Scott, and it's not these people who've trained for years in filmmaking, and I don't know a damn thing about it, and I don't want to insult them by claiming I'm an AI movie maker or AI anything. And also, I don't need the competition, because it's like, I just want to make what I make, and I'm going to make it how I make it, and it's going to be crap, but I want to give it a new name. Just solves the problem. That's why I'm thinking that. So I'm not going to I'm going to think on that anyway. I'm banging on again, but just yeah, I didn't enjoy fighting with a lot of people this week, seeing them really crumbling emotionally to deal with what's coming. after Seed Dance has just come out and just blown it all up. But anyway, back to the matter in hand. Yeah, our trials and tribulations trying to make anything look good now in comparison to Seed Dance is actually, I feel very positive about it. Last time when VEO 3 came out, I totally lost the plot for a while. But this time I'm just like, yeah, this is crawling slowly towards where I want to be. And on that note, let me start talking about this detailer, because it's actually achieved what I've been trying to achieve for a while. Yeah, I might cut in here and show you what I did with the captain guy walking towards the camera and the problems I had. So I might just add some stuff in there on that. But let me talk you through. Yeah, well, I think at this point I'll probably jump to the workshop. So from here it'll probably be workshop details. Actually, no, I'll give you a quick run around this thing. Right, oh yeah. Oh yeah. See that? Breaking changes, Feb. Yeah, you might not have noticed if you didn't update your Comfy UI, but if you did, around the 24th or maybe the 25th, depending on what part of the world you're in, if you updated Comfy UI then, you might have noticed your guff stopped working, at least in LTX, and it's caused a bit of a hoo-ha. I've left the notes in this workflow about it, which I'll leave in there. But the long and short of it is, Comfy UI are planning to change a bit of code, and they've had to patch it back to what it was because everyone's workflows stopped working. And I got the impression from what I was told that guffs will no longer work, but it's not true. What's happened is the way the nodes get laid out has been changed. But what that triggered in me, because I also want access to this, the Gemma Clip API, which I think I figured out how to do it, but so far it has evaded me. But to get access to this, you need a proper model, not the guff model. But so I went off, and because of all this problem with guffs suddenly stopped working, and I couldn't update Comfy because it would have stopped working, I had to figure out how to lay it all out again to work properly, and that's discussed in these notes, and it's been changed in this workflow, so you don't really need to think about it. But what's ended up happening, and I'm going to change and update all my workflows to suit this, is that we now have two models, and you can pick and choose between them. You either use the guff model, which is what I was using before, but you'll have to update to Kidjai's guff loader, because you now need to add the embeddings in. Now, if you don't do this right away, that's fine, but the moment that this happens over here that I've shared, where Comfy UI decide to remove the patch, everything's going to stop working. So you may as well do it now, since everything will still work. And then you won't be caught out and have to come back and find out what the fuck I was on about. So yeah, so I've got the guff model with this new embedding there. And the weird thing about it is you have to keep the old one down here for now. So I don't know why. Don't ask silly questions. Yeah, don't ask awkward questions. I don't know. But it works. And effectively, it doesn't use this, even though, look at that, I've got CUDA. I was trying to get this thing to go onto my GPU, and it won't. LTX uses more RAM than it does GPU, is what I'm starting to figure out. And me being on 32 gigabytes of RAM, I run into a lot of problems with that. And you will have OOMs in this workflow, and you will need to set your settings so that you can push through OOMs, because the OOMs occur at the end in the VAD code, and you just push through, click a couple of times and you're through. Trust me, this is worth it for this workflow. It's great. Now, I've changed my approach, so let's just finish talking about these models actually. So you've got the guff model with the new embedding there, which I recommend you get, all from Kidjai nodes. We call them hoons here. I call them hooligans in Britain. I used to be one though. Anyway, yeah, so the other model is I've was told, right, I was told that I wouldn't be able to get a regular safe tensor model running on my 3060, and I'd have to upgrade to PyTorch 2.10 and CUDA 1.13.0 or whatever it is. But it actually works on my PyTorch 2.7, CUDA 12.8. So, but you need to do a few things. But you also need the embeddings again, because we're moving to this approach where everything has its own model space, I guess is how you'd say it. And again, this is KidGI nodes, and again, you need to update this to after the 25th of February so that you have access to this. Because what this does is it looks for a file called connector inside the diffusions model folder, so it'll find it there. This is another problem I'm having with this, the API getting it working. There's a free API from LTX, by the way. They give it you free. The trouble is getting it working. So I have added the model in there, but it will only look in the checkpoint folder, and my FP4 has to be in the diffusion model folder. So how the fuck solve it? I'm close. And then KidGI said, oh yeah, but that won't work because it has to be an original model. I was like, oh, for God's sake. So I'd gone to all this bother, but then someone said, actually it doesn't. And then KidGI checked again. He said, oh yeah, it just needs the metadata. Anyway, I'm boring you. I'll get this working and I'll post about it. Till then, we're using the old way, which has to stay in anyway, even though apparently this isn't used properly now because it's all coming from here. But enough of that. That's the models. I've tested these, and in my opinion, the non-GUF model is the best at the moment for this. This is an upscaling detailer workflow. And to that effect, let me jump to what I'm doing, because it's kind of weird and kind of new.